Welcome to part 2 of our 3-part series on body image. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jacqueline, and thank you for joining us on Color Me Well, a channel where mental health and diversity conversations collide. On our last episode, Denise and I looked at our childhood to see how media messaging and historical influences shaped our truths about beauty standards growing up. Today, we dive deeper into those ideals and have a discussion on how they've impacted us in our present day life.
So at the time when I guess you kind of were getting all these messages from, people in your culture, or even like just the images you see in the media, like was there anything that really resonated and affected lifestyle choices for you?
For some reason, I always think towards Filipino hair shampoo commercials, because you know how you were saying how you idolize like straight hair because of your Asian friends and stuff. They were really big on promoting soft, silky, shiny, straight, like flattened straight hair, and they did a very good job marketing hair products by really emphasizing those aspects. But back when I was 13, me and my mom, we actually went to get my hair chemically straightened. Yeah, and it was already straight to begin with. So back when I was at that age, I was excited. My mom was excited to get that, help me to get that treatment with me, because it was more of like a bonding, mother-daughter bonding thing with her to go to the salon. For me, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm finally going to have this like soft, silky, straight hair that I see in the commercials back in the Philippines. But now in retrospect, I look back and I go, it's not much different than this. And it was significantly more expensive than just like letting my hair dry. So, yeah, so I think that's interesting that you brought that up. And because, looking back, you don't realize the degree of influence that these things have, or the impact they have on you. Other than the media influences, though, there is another moment in my youth that still remains salient for me to this day. And this was back in my 6th grade, when I received a remark from one of my classmates. That was the year when we did like grad photos for elementary school. And I was here happily filling out my form. This guy, this classmate of mine, he saw me filling out my form, and he went, oh, you're filling up so much. Why? No one's going to want your picture anyways.
Oh, okay.
And then that really struck a chord with me, and it really kind of, ignited my insecurity from there. And it didn't help, because my best friend at that time was one of the popular girls, skinny, really the dalagang Filipina type. And I was not.
It's interesting what we remember, and there's a reason why we remember these sorts of stories. And I want to know what that meant for you going forward. What happened after you heard him say that to you?
Well, when it came in high school, I didn't feel like a complete person. I didn't feel like I could, I only saw myself as a smart girl, and that was it. And it led to, I didn't necessarily have eating disorders, but I definitely wasn't eating healthy. I remember I loved Three Musketeers. And part of the reason why I remember it so fondly from my teenage years is because that would be my only lunch for the day. And because that's it was cheap, so I could afford it. And also I didn't want to eat anything else, because I felt like I was just going to get fat. And so I think it wasn't until, and this is the sad part, it wasn't until I left the Philippines that I was actually able to start pushing myself out of that mentality.
Okay.
And kind of just accepting, that, hey, I don't look a certain way, and that's totally fine. How about you? Any mean comments from teenage teenage classmates that impacted you or anything like that?
Luckily, I mean, a lot of it happened in elementary school, and I think elementary school is just where I think kids are able to, they have this way about them where they think they can just freely say things and do things, and they don't really realize how it's impacting that person. Yeah.
Okay, that was a lie. I was dating somebody in high school. After we broke up, he decided to go up to my friend and tell her that I had been gaining some weight.
And then you get to high school, and I think high school was probably the biggest, probably the extension into that defining moment where I realized I put in all this work to look beautiful. And I think so a lot of that was like when I was 13, for example, before I entered into high school, I got my hair highlighted. I'm pretty sure maybe you may have seen this before, but it's the cap with the holes, and you're plucking hairs out of them.
Right.
You're trying to get certain
The strands
highlighted. Yeah. It's so funny because like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, it'll look good when it's done. It'll look good when it's done. This is only going to hurt for a little bit. And it was so silly because like I always assumed blonde was the way to go. It would make me feel beautiful, but in a different kind of way, but not in a way that I would say is satisfying. So in the end, I just kept dyeing my hair over and over again. And you noticed in high school as well. And luckily, like, and I'll get to this part later, but like, luckily that part of my life changed. But I really did believe that hair like this was like the thickness was not attractive to people. So I did worry a lot about what other people thought, but more so other people of the opposite sex. Like I really, really tried hard to, I don't even think it was like I did my research or anything, but like, you know, you watch media and you see the kind of women that are on TV shows, and, you know, and there's always a type, and there's always a type that all the guys are crazy about, and you try to really match yourself up to that person, but it's like in reality, it's like, no, that can never be you. But I just always kept changing things about myself to reach that point. When I think about it now, it was a lot of work. Like we put a lot of work into changing our bodies. And it's all because the media has just this image in our heads of like what the perfect and ideal body type is like. And also what isn't ideal.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really where it gets difficult. And I'm really like impressed seeing the media now and how it is embracing all body types. But there are still so many people out there being like, you know, people who are defined as fat is ugly. People who have body hair are ugly. Like it's just, and it's so sad. And sometimes I can only pray and hope that kids these days are a little bit nicer, and you know, recognizing that their words do have meaning, and it's more about embracing who you are and really loving yourself in your skin.
Self-acceptance is a hard journey, especially when you felt your entire life that you were never good enough. On our last segment of Body Image, Denise and I will be discussing our self-acceptance journeys, as well as our own personal messages that we have surrounded ourselves by in order to continue our growth. If you want to continue the conversation, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And don't forget to join us on the next episode of Color Me Well. See you soon.